Oh, yeah. Until the caso de Sanja Chomde, Dog Mobile Soba Sanjeva. Sanjebe to Chatera and to Tiabache, and that's good young Tebache. Sanjavache.
So this is a special day, of course, which we celebrate the commemoration of the Buddha attaining enlightenment, and of course being born into this world and going into parinirvana. And also too, yes, of actually the Buddha's kind of renunciation, really, of really signaling moving from the lay life into the life of a renunciate. And this month of known as Sakadawa is known as the month of the 100,000. In other words, that any virtue that we involve ourselves in, the merit of which is multiplied by 100,000 times.
And Shabbat so chug, Yaman can let you go to the Chibatango Yonere, Sudim Sungo Yoba Yene, Sobakungu Yoba Yene, Namju the Midawa, and the Tawati, how to the Diring in the Mother Kitchen, but in the Chetubayina, and pay Shanda Midaj, you devils.
And so when we say of the activities of merit to engage in that will increase by 100,000 times, of course, the main practices we always emphasize is the principal teachings of the Buddha around the mind of enlightenment, of generating realization of emptiness, etc. But also, of course, reciting the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha himself, engaging in activities such as generosity, ethical conduct, patience, of course, indeed, any virtuous activity, beneficial activity that we engage in is multiplied by 100,000 times during this time.
In the chicken yours, and Dakanja Garcev and the Chihuahua in a catch you did Dakanja good song to go. Good song that took you and then Teshibekane, oh, good Lunga Yesugutone, and a Kubachig yours.
So a question has arisen with regard to prostrations and what is the meaning behind prostration. And again, as just exemplifying their two different kind of variations on the prostration. Some who will touch the crown of the head, and then at the heart center, and then sorry, and then So then, sorry, again, I was just explaining a 4-point prostration. So on the crown of the head, on the forehead, at the mouth, and then at the heart center before prostrating oneself on the floor. And this is primarily, so the most important thing is here is that we are recalling the qualities of a Buddha's body, speech, and mind as we're entering into as much as we possibly can. And in that way, showing our respect for and appreciation for those qualities. So what we're really saying is that I am, through my own body, speech, and mind, respecting these qualities of body, speech, and mind in an enlightened being.
차금인데 차스는 그래서 그거 미션데 남배도는 다도 베베게 남배게 돈에 착 셀서 착스도 산지의 공방 토비에게 룽아 이송그 딕바tam자 마 차봐 마 매버 써봐 룽아 이송 매버 써봐 아니 셀스도 산지의 토기 구송도가 연대 소 렘바 소 쉬바 와들지 고고 그랬어.
And so, and I'm saying I'm unclear as to what the term chaksel, which is the what is rendered in English as prostration, does the meaning come across? Because in the Tibetan, there are these two syllables, chak and sel, to indicate prostration. The chak actually means that when one is prostrating, one is endeavoring to purify all of our negativities associated with body, speech, and mind. In other words, to eradicate them completely as one is entering into the prostration. And similarly, that the cell part of the word indicates that we are trying to take on or attain all of the good, perfect, supreme qualities of body, speech, and mind as we are prostrating. So it's doing that double action of both, getting rid of all that is negative and obscuring, and taking on all of that which is the positive parts of body, speech, and mind.
봐도 저 디바드리가 차와 구송투가 연대 중에 아니 이게 강한들 지야돼 산제 구이 속도 주에게 아니 가서다 녀바디가 파 가서다 게다 바제디가 다 가서 디바드가 마장네 속도 주에게 아니 가서 레게 니바 딱 니바 두바 니바 렘바 와던데 시제도 제 솜지도 구송투게 디바 자와 구송투가 연대 렘바 와던데 고고도스
And so, yes, I was saying that some, touch three parts of the body in making the prostration. Some four, and the fourth is that which is kind of like starts at the crown of the head, and that is indicating that one is taking on all of the bodily or the physical qualities of enlightenment in the course of this prostration.
Oh, sorry,
yeah, that one is, sorry, not just the body, but the actual ushnish, or the crown protrusion of the Buddha, that when one touches the crown, one is saying this, I aspire to that also in this course of my prostrations. In the context of secret tantra, when one is using those movements in the course of a prostration, one is aspiring to attain the four bodies of the Buddha. So in order to attain these four bodies directly, I am purifying body, speech, and mind. I am purifying all negativity and attaining all merit in order to make this happen, to take that result onto the path.
Shortly.
So that's a brief answer to that question.
Sanje Cheda Soja
Soki Chonam La Janju Padu Dagi Gatsuchi Dagi Chunin Gipe Tsaknam Ki Zolam Panju Sange Drupar
Sanje Chedan Soja
Soki Chonam La Janju Padu Dagi Gatsuchi
Daji Chichen
Dagi Chunin Gipe Tsaknam Ki Zolam Panju Sange Drupar
Sanje Chedan Soja
Jorang Soki Chonam La Janju Padu Dagi Gatsuchi Dagi Chunin Gipe Tsaknam Ki Rolam Panja Sange Dropar so
Dayan Tan Gade Gade
Gate Para Gate Para Som Gate Body
Dayan Tan
Kayata Gate Para Gate Para Som Gate Body Kayata Gate Para Som Gate Body Swaha
Dayan Tan Gade Gade
Gate Para Som Gate Body Swaha
Holos. Ne didn't teach so Casata, Casole, and that it's Suji the Chegale, Takasham to see when a Jawar Muchenge, Lojon Sigema, Sunjuto, Sunjuto, and the Tajana let the dot, Tedmochi, the Austria to the Jungi Chegal too. And Nakasha taken Sojo Lengatina, Shella Chile Kava Yugura, and didn't the Yuchi Mobusha come over here. You come to Gamma, and it to make some out of Sashana.
And so today also that His Holiness will be giving a live stream teaching on the 8 verses of mind transformation. And this will start in Australian time at around 12:30 p.m. today. And included in that possibly the 8 Mahayana precepts may be given also.
Gashe princess check chikchana yang ngarazo nalo princess lenge yelwa tin sang ozo tere ngarazo nanglo la mayana princess lenge tere yowa ina tere anteza tere to ngazo tugi ins
so sorry, it'd be good if we took the 8 Mahayana precepts prior to that as well. That would be very good. So in light of that, I thought to do a meditation today and to recite the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha.
What let's say what let's say what the simje tamje to do sanje 공부 마도는 타면도 아니 토바 지기 삼사 공부세 엔티체도 아니 그탑 개세게 줘발을 납고도 대체도 아니 들 가서다 지금 뒤제 개발전 되라 뒤제 개발전 되라 아니 지가서다 자주 선다 돈이 또 베셔게 심배고네 아니 또바토에 온 거게 애니 연대 진심방에 아니 지금 검도 스타일이 있어서 고바시.
And so, of course, we start with our motivation again to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment, and knowing that in order to do that, I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path, and to be able to kind of like train in those teachings, to perfect those trainings, to know what they are, to gain that training through knowing, being able to rely upon a non-mistaken text. And today, I'm going to augment that motivation in this very extraordinary time of Sakadawa by doing a meditation, and by recalling the importance of generating the mind of enlightenment itself, along with the realization of emptiness, by indeed recalling the one who has those specific qualities, Shakyamuni Buddha as well. And so we begin by visualizing the figure of indeed our own, in reality, our own root guru, and in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, the one who is skilled in means and greatly compassionate. He has one face and 2 hands, sitting in the Vajra posture, and we feel is actually present there.
이내다 소소 수부 대토에나 아니 수부 정보제 도지 긴좀제 대야 마존의 체계좀 아니 수부 정보제 아니 지금 미 아니 나발로 마법제 아니 라바 인데스는 다 가자제 유명한 이야바된데샤 아니 디 자로 마이 바 들레 전 인데전 축성부 지르와 마이 바전 랑밥소 인데샤제 아니 디 이거 동바샤 아니 수부 대다도 로보자 개와 통보제 제투바이나 아니 그때 소소 수부 내다가도 두고 먼저는 아니 들레 대유 삼사 뭐가 이제가 돈에 대유 삼사 공부시.
And as far as our own posture is concerned, it would be excellent if we could actually sit in the Vajra posture with the legs crossed as well, and with the back ramrods straight, and then with the our hands held in that particular position that Genna has expressed, with the right hand in the left and with the thumbs just touching, not being pressed, hard together, but just touching, kind of resting naturally at the navel or just below the navel, and ensuring also that the elbows then are pressed out so that there is a space between the body and the arms, allowing for air to flow, and that we can maintain this position would be wonderful. If not, to even just to visualize and that we are in that position, to have that sort of imaginative kind of establishing of ourselves in this position is highly auspicious.
그래서 이 상계 넘버나제 슈다레 상계 넘버나제 쓰는데 상계 탐제가 룩이 드마다가 딱상 할차와 진바 인사 안데 그 룩이 드마다이로 고바켜봐줘 요소부도 와 아니 슈토나데 슈마도는 뭐가 이제 저거 되네 유 삼자 공바자도는 야고 여바래.
And so the reason for this is that we are adopting here what's known as the body posture of the Buddha Vairocana. And that in doing so, it is symbolic of purifying all negativities related to physical negativities that we have engaged in, and so it thereby purifying physical aspects of the body. And if one can visualize that, we have an aspirational, imaginative picture of ourselves in that position. Even though we can't physically do it, it is extremely important. And also to, at this time, use whatever understanding we have of the middle way viewpoint, meaning that even though we appear in this way, we have the same understanding that we do not exist inherently in the way that we appear.
And yes, yes, and
And similarly, then visualizing the figure in the space in front, one of Shakyamuni Buddha sitting in the Vajra posture, one face, two hands, with the right hand in the earth touching mudra, just touching the ground in front of his knees, and with the left hand held in the meditative equipoise posture, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar, and he's dressed in the saffron robes of a monk. To have this picture in front of us in the visualization is very important.
근데 투바도 가라서 삼모타에 둘을 세트에 투바데 맨날 라심에 받지 랑게 되게 란날 라심에 받지 공부하셔버려서 투바 공부해야 날 라심에 받지 공부하셔.
And likewise, then, in the same way as we have concluded that we do not exist in the way that we appear, similarly, the figure or the actuality of the Buddha in the space in front of us also does not exist in the way that he appears.
아니 랑게 타고도야 아니 저기 랑게 랑라 진짜가 세디 파마 아니 세디 ngama chibe thoma meba na tingi chambe ane dwari juge semje tamje masawa meba yu samza kumba cha.
And in the space all around us, we visualize all the parents, starting with those of this life, the one previous to that, the one previous to that, going right back to beginningless time. And that we have this certainty that all sentient beings, all kind mother sentient beings, are present without exception all around us.
Semje deda tamche jang, ane ritu so rangi legi onge tunga kari yobane, ro nyawala tsata yidala tegum, ane kaso de dundola lenche temumba, mila ta kika nashiki tunga, ane hama yila lada, hama ta lado ko tunga, ane debe la soba tedola chide powe tunga, ane sunga de sume la kaso ta kanje 사진 여월에 풍부도 거니 유여라 딱 간제 보다 del아서가 간제 지금 되게 단제 그 동해에 나수 되게 되고 고마셔 근데 그 동해 나시면 안 동해 나도 된제식 안에 나방 가서 민내시 있잖아 라마 투명 구소도 그 연대 대식에 del아 당했다 봐 이제게 또 뭐도 대봤는데 라다 고총 제 된제식 깨두게 남주 유게 되고 고마셔
And that, we are also aware of the suffering of all the realms, the beings in all the 6 realms of existence, that due to karma, they are prone to all the sufferings, both relative to the realm that they are in, and all general sufferings as well, such as the heat and cold of the hell realms, the hunger and thirst of the hungry spirit realms, the benighted ignorance of the animal realms, the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death. So, so characteristic of the human realm, the jealousy that really dominates the Asura realm, and then the terrible mental suffering of the signs, knowing the signs of one's own impending death. In the celestial being realms, the celestial beings in the desire realm. And even though, then you go beyond into the form and the formless realms, and that suffering continues because of the fact that these beings still have these contaminated body aggregates that they are born into. And so that they suffer due to that. And so you can see that all of these beings have these horrific sufferings, and we kind of like sparked into compassion for that. But similarly, that all these beings we visualize as having a sort of a human awareness like we have, and therefore they have an appreciation of the figure that we are visualizing in front, the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha, and are inspired in turn themselves with the pure faith, with the faith of conviction, and in the manifest faith that they will be able to aspire to attain those enlightened qualities as well at the same time.
that that kaja data nachibe tunge gyue chaba tujega tunge kari na tego yumane data de tunge nawa kachela tunge de yuden de tuwa ma ingech na la shimeba.
And similarly also we remind ourselves that as elaborate as the visualization of all these mother sentient beings all around us, that they do not exist in the way that they appear. And similarly, all the sufferings that we recall related to all these mother sentient beings, the suffering, the suffering of change, or pervasive suffering, etc., that this suffering likewise has no objective existence, and it does not exist in the way that it appears.
Good news Rawana do I know Jordan Yomare. Rawan the Madua is so good Jordan is to what I did.
So we conclude that by really ascertaining how we have no self-powered existence or inherent or objective existence, this is really good news. This is really good news, because if we had such an existence, there would be no possibility of change.
아니 저 공부디 상계 좀 되게 공부디 심지 탐지도 상계 공부 주의요 봐. 아니 코아 동녀송 그 동에 되게 돼. 뭐때네 되네 타주 여봐도 가서 되게 코아다 녀송 그 동에 되게다. 아니 타바 탐지 겸버스 근데 라와네 마두바 임바 인사 아니 고 때네 중화리샤. 때네 중화 임바 인데 아니 오다고 탑시도 배는 녀송을 내봐디 녀송도 타에 탑시도 코아라 내봐데 코아네 태야 탑시도 타바다 탐지 겸마 마도바데 토베게 탑시도 왔다 가자 가서 딱 가서 딱 가자 가서 딱 가자 가서 체면 예반이네 그러 체면 예반이네 왔다 좀제 된대님 봐서 따외 시대 된대지가 체면 예반이에 따와 된대가 토는 왔다 아니 뭐트네 아니 가라서 세외 또 받다 뭐트 두고 또 그래서 아니 거다 당에 들으셔 딱 이제 상대 좀 된 게 아니 유대는 마주 버래 때내 중화를 샤스가 된중게 담대 다 현담이라고 저래도 다 인바데 그래서 상대 좀 된 게 공개 딱 이제 저게 다 변화 코에 동네 땅 타바다 탐색해보 고마스도 오다 주주 여바데 가서 라완의 마주바 인바 인사과 때내 중화 인바 인사 오다 탑시 두스 근데 탑시 여바데 아니 지금 다가서 뢰서와 많이 맞아 탑시 여바데 세마리 바게 예반이에요 되겠지 좀 생각하네 답에 오다디 인바 인사 디 중에도 탑시 두스 로다 잡내 세마 요겠지
And so, you know, and that also to understand that the impact or the importance of phenomena lacking such objective or self-powered existence is profound, because this then means that phenomena arise independent. They are dependent arisings, and that this in itself allows for us and any being to be able to move from the suffering of cyclic existence and to attain liberation from that cyclic existence, and to go on from that to attain the omniscient state of enlightenment. This fact allows for the possibility of everything to occur. And not what's more, even more heartening, is that this can be established through valid reasoning. That one can gain absolute conviction with regard to this, because it is based on valid reasoning.
지금 랍자 상법이야 주로 망보라티 유에되게 다 땡중의 담대 코에 자와데 단제 마리 바리 티님보다 담에 또베 샤라브레 스근데 다 가제 산제 좀 된데 공개 녀바니베 되는데 아니 그 지중 다 가서 랑게 뒤절로 동발 세베게 오다 땡중의 담세데 다 가서다 다시 가서다 가제 지금 직대는 또 봐. 그 최대게 아니 가서 딱 간제 저기 출루 신경 또 봐 신경 맞아 맞아 다 상계 좀 된데 그 잡아라. 다디 돈에다 또 봐 현담인다고 이마디 녀바니 두고도 와. 아니 디 연대가 아니 디 녀바니다 공부 시도는 쉬울게 좀 이봐요.
And so this, you know, this kind of particular insight and teaching from the Buddha is quite singular and exceptional, because of the fact that, you know, even though there are many wonderful teachings coming from many different spiritual traditions on, you know, ethical conduct, on generosity, etc., this concept of dependent origination or dependent arising is exceptional, and it is completely unique to the Buddha's teachings, and that to be not only that, but to gain conviction in that is something which is really beneficial and profound as well, and that that we should have that extra appreciation for the Buddha for coming up with something that is able to isolate, on the one hand, the main issue around our being caught in suffering, and then to propose the means by which we can gain a liberation from that. And so the figure of the Buddha that we are visualizing in front is marked by the 3 syllables, Om at the crown, A at the throat, and Hung at the heart center. Light rays emanate from the Hung syllable at the center, going out into the pure realms, inviting back the wisdom beings from there, and the wisdom beings dissolve into the central figure. And we feel that the Buddha now is a kind of an empowered figure for us. So that we really see how the wisdom beings are dissolving into have dissolved into the figure of Buddha in front.
아니 랑게 타고도야 아니 랑라 진짜가 막힌 섬제 탐제데 공부하시네 아니 산제게 아니 공부하시 아니 다가니 저 두나 세트베 라마 투베 공부티야 나라조 돈다라 투이테 나라조 돈다 람라 나라조 돈다 공부하자고 산제되게 아니 와딘데 지 이바티 랑지 모트바체 아니 데네 산제게 요데 랑지바 탐제를 되와 샌디벌을 되와 탈을 제와 꿀을 투지 지보니 이름을 봐줘 팬다마다 탐제게 되는데 되게 와딘데 지게 이바티 아니 공부하시
And that in our appreciation of the figure of the Buddha in front, we recall the qualities of an enlightened being who has generated the mind of enlightenment for our sake, who has proceeded on the path for our sake and generated the full and complete enlightenment for our sake. That how he is a being who has no fears of suffering in relation to himself, is skilled in means in removing the suffering of others, who works with great compassion and without bias to help and benefit all sentient beings, and who benefits without ever considering gaining benefit in return.
미베다 윤대 통하고는 대바 당에 이제 대바 원도 대바라서 심제 대다 삼제게 아니 다 동해게 나서라 삼냈단 저로다가 저 주소소는 동해 나서 되게도 고바시네 아니 대다를 미베 동해에 나올 미스베 닝제 아니 동해 대다 전도게 잡아 로아 잡아고 아니 다 대내 동해 주다 잡아졌다 맞아 타버도 잡아지게 딱네 잡아지게서 학습게 아니 대대 잡아지가 줘도 다 심제 탐제시 심제 찌기야 대화 동가 탐제 대화 탐제 도와 제마도 인사 다 대대 제도에 누바도 수도스라 아니 랑게 되나 세트 라마투베 ombuti 안 들라도 다디 계지리네 되죠 아니 규미면 민바지 도와지면 누바도 가서 심제 캄다 몇바 발라냐와 지다 와시도 kengi 인사 지제 심제가 되는 교도고도 대대 자다 라마투베 ombu 고마도 마도라 토마도 토바 지기 센데를 샘게 대야 뉴완유도 토바지기 선서 공부하게.
And so we can have this on the one hand pure faith, manifest faith, and faith of conviction in our appreciation of the qualities of the enlightened being, but also we are also aware of the suffering so prominent in the 6 realms of existence, and how we develop that compassion which finds such suffering unbearable, as well as the loving kindness of really wanting to provide happiness to all these sentient beings. And that, when we take on a kind of a personal sense of responsibility for that, it's known as the special intention of really feeling, on the one hand, that yes, I really want to do something about the suffering of all sentient beings and to provide them in all happiness. But at the same time, I am realistic, and I'm aware that I do not have at the moment the potential to do that for even one sentient being efficiently. So I look around to see who has that ability, who has that capacity, and indeed it has to rest on the mind of an enlightened being. And so Buddhahood is clear that in every moment, the Buddha has that capacity to ripen the minds of sentient beings, and to continue to ripen those that are partially ripened, who has that knowledge of the individual's propensities and personalities and karmic characteristics, etc., to be able to give the best and most efficient help. And therefore, I again realize that there is no choice about it. I must attain the state of enlightenment. And I make a dedication to be able to do that as quickly as possible.
Jadi 심지어 탐지가도 산재 공화 마도라 탐도 토바 지금 섬네 아니 지금 페바투에 섬로다 아니 주내와 개발에 내벨에는 게 페바투기 스트레스 섬로 겨도 아니 섬로디 단단데 다 계속 단위 전복에 아니 공부 시단다 릭투바 차대도 아니 딜라테네 다 간제 지금 산재 공부 두고서 산재때 아니 가서라다 유개발제래 딜라테네 손랑 빠도 매바사야 아니 된데가 셈께도 셈데 아니 저 가서데 깨어도 타입에 맞게 셈자 탐자 편바 두고 있어도 된데가 배 깨지 삼라 깨봐 이나야 아니 저 가서 손은 빠도 매바산 아니 손은 빠도 매바사와 이마 이나 손은 덴베 미 삼바 남자 두서 아니 손은 빠도 매바사도 아니 된데가 손은 뒤에 돌할 때네 아니 남시나 문에다네 납치부 편도 좀 두에 지금 연구를 와 연구로 다다 카도 배나 수제 찍는 날 편도 죽도데 요 말데 이네 삼로데 땅와라 되네 삼로 된데 깨봐 될라 되네 되네 지 가서데 디 바자 샤네 남신의 디 바자 샤네 엔디 손놈 그 온게 손놈 사네 아니 마오발라 랍치 뭐 편도 주에게 아니 유튜브 투와 좀 그래 손정도 다 삼로 된데 달래 심지어 가리 뱅거를 삼사 땡기도 와 때가서 땡어서 삼로도 놓아 되고 요래 가서나 컵도 되다 뱅거문도 돼 이네 삼로 뒤땅 할 때네 산재 고마 주고 산재선도 가서 땡 켜봤지 뒤 유켜봤지 뒤 누발할 때네 아니 산재 줄어 줘대 자주가 샘성한테 내가 아니 가서 다 유켜봤지 되게 샘 깨온도 아니 샘제 빠도 모발 편바 주고 가서 지금 사면을 매셔 따고 열봐 아니 남자 뒤 온게 아니 손은 패온데 아니 삼반에 좀 두에 좀 그랬어
So that we might consider in our present state, with the body, speech, and mind that we have at present, to kind of like try to attain such a state of mind of enlightenment is beyond us, and that's too kind of like too big an aspiration, and but we kind of like have to get beyond this kind of like small-minded way of thinking, and that we have the power through our own thinking to set the bar much higher for ourselves, and to kind of like understand how we can train ourselves to endure harm from others and only think of ever responding with a benefit. Perhaps something that we couldn't even have considered a short time ago, but which we see is in the realm of possibility now. And that in doing so, we can understand that we are acting in just the way great beings of the past have done, and on their way to enlightenment themselves. And so we should kind of understand that, you know, through these powerful motivations that we can do, we are laying down powerful imprints on our minds. And when we back that up by engaging in meritorious activity, we should be in no doubt that in the future, you know, we will be able to reap the benefits, the great benefits that might even seem beyond us now. And so we shouldn't, you know, have the idea that, oh, how can I benefit sentient beings right now in the present? This is kind of a mistaken way of thinking. But to rather to kind of go, you know, that, you know, the Buddha himself is an extraordinary basis on which to base our training. The mind of enlightenment itself is an extraordinary basis to be able to set our motivation. And so by engaging in activities, following such a path, and on the basis of that kind of motivation, in the future, we will definitely be able to reap the benefits of these causes that have been laid down.
And you know, so the jet to what it, and no kuno sambo can come to the jet. But was a miller, so the jet to a pena, chicaso, don't be raising yellow pepper to you, pena. Ruapena pena chutevana, chatevana, kalatevana, the jet to a jungura pena, then a casola, what the nigger, chicken, panto, panto, oh, that pantos are you and around a tincher marking a simjet, and Tare, and it dela get panto to a cook up the chonso, and the simjet tamja to Sunday, Comato, Curitua, shows, and what Maola simjet tamja didn't she pemba to a show, some young, the Dalang pembade, and it got so the Sansing pembade, Maola get sugar pemba to a shows. What the nigger, Tanja panto to a decadu panto, Tovacale Janjuka single simple on the panto chat. That come to panto matuba in my name, some little panto a sabacom, and the panto to what they come to panto to watch it. Lu when the panto go to it, Nag when the panto go to it, E when the panto go to it, come to top to watch it. And to what they to what the Tubacale, Jamie Janjuk said the deco, get the Pemotobacale, some logo and the Pemba comedy. Come to my name, Namsha Pemba to a panto to a sort of twinge Yovaina, panto to Gurua. Some Mogona, some logo combat mena, and a panto to a Novina panto to Maria.
And so we must do what we can do, and to be able to do so with the most enlightened motivation possible. And so this is the way we train. And so whether it's, you know, being able to provide a cup of tea or some food or some kind of mundane type of benefit, you know, we can do so by setting the mindset to consider that the one who we are helping or giving to is a kind mother, sentient being. And this is my opportunity to repay all of that kindness. And that, and so you continue to gather all of these actions, small and maybe insignificant as they seem, but to do so, you know, as best as we can with that enlightened motivation. The mind of enlightenment motivation is very, very important, and that to continue with that particular action, to consider how may this act of generosity, for example, ensure that in the future I will be able to help all sentient beings in this way. If it is giving of material benefit, for example, may I be able to benefit all sentient beings in this material sense. and that ultimately, may I be able to benefit all sentient beings with the gift of Dharma in the future. And so this is something that you can really enrich any particular action and motivation just by virtue of your thinking, by that power. And so being able to engage in any action through the motivation of the mind of enlightenment, whether one's action is one of body, speech, or mind, that it's going to be beneficial. It's going to lay down the imprints to be significant on into the future. And thinking, if I can think it, I can make it happen. If I don't even think it, then it's unlikely that it will happen. And so we have to work on the basis of what we can imagine, what we can think, the benefit that we can think to give, and really plan that in our minds first is extremely important.
이제 디펜바 주베 갈래 어다디 네 도고이 네 파마레 디삼로자 마임바 쳔네 디 진치베 마킹게 셈제레 토마메바 진치베 마킹게 셈제레 안 다른 게 야나 빈자 야나 사자 야나 부고 야나 파마 야나 도고 도모 쳔네 젤리 레가 온거 거바로 어다갈로 구갑치레 어다 야고 쉬우죠 구갑 야고 쉬우죠서 아니 딜레 펜바 주바데 셈제 탐자가 되는시 펜바 주도 봐쇼 안 딜레 펜바 주바데 아니 마우발라 추가 톤의 편바 주도 와셔서 어다 된데가 공부하셔봐이나 장주 선배 냠내 차도.
And so, that's when we talk about who to benefit, who can we benefit, of course, when we were saying all sentient beings, but that begins with those with whom we are closest, our friends, our parents, our partner, our children, the ones who we come in contact with on a daily basis. And this is to try to be as beneficial as we possibly can, and that to do so without thinking, for example, this is my partner, this is my child, and that's why I'm benefiting. But rather that they are simply kind mother sentient being, and what am I doing? I am simply repaying that kindness, and to really extend that again, like was just said, to want to be the one who will benefit all sentient beings in this way, and ultimately to benefit all sentient beings through the gift of Dharma. To be assured that if one is able to think in this way through any act of benefit, of merit, that this is acting with the bodhicitta, or mind of enlightenment, and motivation.
다 들려 삼잖아. 아니 그 소속에 남주게 김장 경화가 대과점에 쳐차르고도 와. 대과점에 다 들려 공부시해져. 아니 김장나는 욕다 연구 말에 저거 저번에 욕다 빈빈자발은 욕다 연구 다 삼로 된데 거기에 소속들 탐바 주베가 삼로도 남남 쇼쇼 연구를 와.
And so to kind of really have that really enthusiasm, that being inspired to be as beneficial as one can, and to not engage, seeing that there's no difficulty here, no trouble, and in kind of being able to help one's relatives and help one's close friends, etc., and to engage in that then with extra gusto and extra enthusiasm.
What did the conversation? What did the Dakaja Kasa Injig Tidomada Kasa Think Global Act Kasa Local System.
Think globally, act locally.
Locally. What the chapsi getting a single man in a Janju Semen Yamachida did it. Pemba to a simja Tamjel Pemba to a Kumbashe, and the Pento do that, because Simja called the same Tilla, you can tell Pemba to a Yungurwata.
So this
Tilla Pemba to the Simja Tamjela Pemba to a Chetu, Jusasa Chadwa.
And so, yes, we can adopt that, aphorism to the practice of the mind of enlightenment, where we think globally and to include all sentient beings in our motivation, but we act locally by making sure that we are proceeding with the mind of enlightenment motivation in our interactions with all our relatives and friends and those who we are close to. And, with that aspiration to, at some point, be able to extend that globally. And so helping those who are close to us is what we can do, isn't it? This is possible for us to do that. But this is, in a way, setting down the causes for our being able to act globally, to be able to be of more benefit to more and more, ultimately, all sentient beings. It's like the farmer sowing those seeds. And so when we make that motivation, I want to attain enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, to kind of have that subheading of being able to say that, yes, in the meantime, I will carry through that motivation to those who are right next to me, close to me, and that and do my best in that regard every day.
And then
at our own heart center, in the center of all the sentient beings, we visualize the syllable A. And so that from that mind of wanting to be of benefit, wanted to kind of filling the mind with that the kind of beneficial sentiment is symbolized by the arising of the syllable A at the heart center. And so until from this syllable A comes this potential that until the attainment of enlightenment itself, that this desire to be a benefit to sentient beings will just grow and grow and grow. And that under this syllable A, and then is the moon disk mandala seed.
Transformation. And so we enter into this question of where is this I, where is this self who wants to attain this enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, this I. Is it in the body? Is it in the mind? My body, my mind. And, when we look for this sense of self, we search through the body. Is it in the is it in the hand? Is it in the foot? And we reach the point of really looking everywhere, but not finding what is meant to appear to us as this self or this I.
And this is signifying the fact that it is lacking any objective existence, and that this is kind of like a point of that the self that we are looking for is not to be found, because it does not exist in the way it appears. It has no objective existence, and we reach that point of just a simple negation, as they say, of the object of negation, of it simply not being existing in the way it appears at all.
나와 차원에 지금 아직 누가 해서 세줘도 근데 나와 차원에 지금 아직 여가 있나? 그 니국을 봐. 니국을 그 여가 있나? 야나 쌤그 되기 때문에 집안에 요 그러면 다 줄어도 봤는데 거저다 여다 매되게 소식도 와. 다 여는 소소 류다 쌤디 땡디 봤잖아. 요고 되네 디바지 니국을 다 류기 차셰체 쌤그 차셰체를 받지 않아도 자원니는 이거 요 말이야. Manibe Carten Gorsana, Nameba Tare Mare. Manibe Takarsan, Nagaras, no one has never bet to Yorba.
So this self that we're referring to is that self that we really have a sense of it being something solid and existent to us, something that we can point to. And that, when we think of, we express our desires, I want or I don't want, that sense of self that is making those statements, is that it has to be something that can stand out and be found if it is looked for, whether it's in the mind or the body may be a question. But, it is something that it appears so definite to us that we feel that it must be found if we were to look for it. And that, but when we do so, we are constantly frustrated in not being able to have anything solid like that we can point to as me or self or I. And that we can divide both the body and the mind into its constituent parts and still not find this self that does not appear to us in the way that we conceive it. And so, we have to conclude on the one hand that does not mean that it is a non-existent, but that there's something strange about the way we feel it does exist. And so that it does not exist in the way that that it appears. And that's the conclusion we need to come to.
여바티 너와도 나기부도 나기부문도 그러와 와서 나 당고 니 기부 커서 나 당고 니 기부 부고마서 그러와 가상 나기부 중 가상 나기부 뭐 중서 근데 녀아직 두가 그 매와 있는 녀아도 연구 말아 봐 와다 지도 이래 나도 째주도 니기면도 다나 근데 이거 다 여다데 나와네 시지면도 매바데다 그 타쳐 봐서도 와 다들 가르다는 거서 세도 많이 받고 라왕게 마주봐 라왕게 마주봐도 따뜻한데 아니 그 매바레스 매바 마레스 가서 라왕게 마주봐라면도 때내 중앙에 샤스 로아 때내 중앙에 샤스 다 가자 다 때내 중앙에 다 그러 다 가자 류셀라 딱 봤음 안 똑배 파다섬 다 보면 쉬우냐 똑배 파다섬 와다 때내지게 아니 다 때내지게 다 위험하다 고치고도 있어 좋아.
And so, that, of course, we exist in some sense, that this is verified by our own experience, isn't it? I am happy, I am unhappy, I was happy yesterday, I was unhappy yesterday, I slept well last night. These are statements we make that are clearly verifiable, that there is something that experience those experiences. But when we search for that we do not find it, and that this is a sign that such a self is does not exist under its own power, and that it can only be something that arises in dependence. It is a dependent arising or dependent origination. And so we kind of like reach this point of, searching through the body and mind, not finding the self that we thought we would find, the one that looked to be that which existed from its own side, that was inherently existing, but eventually reaching the point of really finding that the self that appears to us, that we kind of adhere to, is something that is an impossibility, and that ultimately we reach the point of understanding that such an I or such a self is that which is merely imputed, and that's all. There's nothing beyond that. And so this is an absolutely fundamental issue, because the mistake that we make of really apprehending the self in the way that it appears, it really initiates the kind of discrimination that follows for, that I like and I don't like. And this then, of course, inspires the motivations of attachment and aversion towards, on the one hand, those we like, we find likable, or I find likable, and the aversion, and even beyond that, to hatred of those who I find unlikable. And so it's kind of like this is the very fundamental birth of all of these discriminating attitudes.
아니 그 차단 로드 쭉쭉도 충도 치네 아니 디 뭐좀더 돈도 차단 로드가 매바 찾고 요래 보다디가 디 내가 다 상계 좀 되게 걔는 두 제외 권에는 나라도 돕는 게 도와 뭐 여기 내서 나라서 마시바티 아니 대나티.
And so this self, which is conceived to exist in the way it appears, as something which is independent and objectively existent, and and from that basis, then the attachment aversion arises. But if we start to undermine that accepted position and to question the way in which the self or I exists, and to kind of like go not automatically adhere to it existing in the way it appears, we are already on the path of reducing the levels and frequency of attachment and aversion, and ultimately with realization we can eradicate such attachment and aversion, and we have, of course, the Buddha's unique insight to be able to thank for this, and out of that love to teach it, and so that we have this teaching still today.
다들 이제 인사 왔다 가자 가서도 다 가자 저 대반이나네 나 군조 대바도 돈단데 봐서 가자 로다 유대는 주바 마주바 유대는 주바 두자에 매바데 다 초근에서 유대에서 두자에 매바데 다 가자 지금 가서도 뭐 여기 가서도 다 돈단데 봐도 차대고 대단한데 봐도 마도 발라 때네 아니 먼저 다 가서 마도 발 때네 아니 군조에 내주대 찾아봐 또 마도 봐차 아니 딜라 때네 아니 가서다 다 가자 지금 차단가 로스가 되게 되겠잖아 아니 무트는 코알 코되기도 다 된데 임바이자 왔다 덤베 딜라 때네 아니 다 가자 저 뭐유기 내주 뭐 맞춰봐도 뭐 쳐봐 쇠네 다 가자 지금 나 대화도 동행미도 가데 라완을 줘봐도 저원이네 메드도 뭐 쳐네 아니 대가다 셈도 샤
And so that, these two truths, known as the conventional truth and the ultimate truth, and that how until we're able to realize ultimate truth, the lack of a phenomena existing in the way that they appear, they're merely existing, on the basis of merely being posited, that they have no existence otherwise, even at the atomical level. If we fail to realize that, then we're operating at the conventional level, and that means that we are prone to attachment and aversion, and that means that we are kept within the revolutions of cyclic existence, ad nauseum. And that we have to again go back to the Buddha, who pointed out the actuality to us, and pointed out to be able to kind of like to realize that we are in this kind of trap of cyclic existence unless we realize the ultimate truth, and that how kind it was to be able to give us that teaching. And that mere absence of self existing in the way it appears, just to imagine that mere negation of the object of negation, and to try and keep one's mind focused on that for a moment. And that and then as a result of that, the mere negation of the object of negation, from that arises the syllable hung, which also stands on the moon disc mandala at our heart center.
And 7 to 24 hours.
And to think then that this mind of enlightenment combined with this realization of the true nature of reality will be something with me that I can contemplate 24/7 until I attain the state of enlightenment.
And because 24/7 days, you take never yet. Can this toy in a Uden Madua chat to it? No one is in mere subject.
So this is the process of gaining conviction in this, that of course all phenomena lack any objective existence, but it's something that we need to remind ourselves about 24/7, to bring that mind to a point of absolute conviction, and to kind of recognize that such a phenomena appears in this way, but it does not exist in the way it appears. We remind ourselves of that and gain that sense of conviction.
But get a good news. Oh, good news there, object no existence. Rawan Matubaria. You didn't Matubaria, talk about Parta Samres. Nature to judge the bad news. Oh, bad news there. Rawan Matubaria, talk about Parta Samres. Rapena, Kala Imana, Kala Kora, Rawan Matubare, talk about Parta Samres. Shopping Kora Rawan Matubare, talk about Parta Samres. Car Kora Rawan Matubare, talk about Parta Samres. and so drop to condition by now, Rawan and Matubara, top of Patas. And what the compassion, but a long long by the long long the Rawan and Matubara, top of Patas.
And so to be able to apply it at all times, like for example, if we have good news, that good news is not something that is self-powered, it is merely imputed. It does not exist in the way it appears. If we have bad news, similarly, bad news is not something that is self-powered, it is merely imputed, and it does not exist in the way it appears. The food we eat, or the shopping we do, the car we own, all of this, we remind ourselves again and again that these things do not, they're not a self-powered entity. They do not exist in the way that they appear. They are merely imputed. And similarly, even if we, get angry, and that anger, that getting hot under the collar is something that is merely imputed and does not exist inherently, or it is not self-powered.
What is that? And Congress say better is to. When a Congress Rana Congress Ran Yugura, Ramana, Rana Congress and Young Marwa. Kangatson Yongote, Rua, Yungura, Takaja, Mongus on Yongote, and it did around. Then when the concept quite just was a sort of George making something Yorba. That Ran the Maduba, Rale Javacha, Pacha, and do that net among Bojilla Yonted. Oh, and called dinner his Tongomare, Doctor Tongmarwa. Ma never choose Tongodwa. The Casa round the Juba said, quite just was around Javacha Mewach. Then the round the Juba Mara did a Joan was a Kangala Javacha, and so did not treat it. And the Dawson.
And so with the habituation to this way of thinking, you will find actually that the sense of interconnection between yourself and all others around you is growing, something that is really flourishing. And that this separation that we feel towards others is something that is very much reduced. And so to the point is that, that one's occasion of anger or distaste or dissatisfaction, all of which is kind of like dependent upon having an other external object out there, isn't it? That I have to be angry at something or someone out there, existing, on self-powered out there. And so when you undermine that reality, that you have the sense of interconnection far more than you have the sense of separation, and therefore there is no the fuel for your anger. It's like the kind of like the energy has been taken out of the possibility of your disagreeing and of anger, frustration, unhappiness.
What the and Rawan and Matuba, the Manguja, then you want to, and then knocked out you and knocked a mel so a topsy hago, or knocked out your head, you did turn over the mel so to not, and not a mel to something. Could shut up, go with one. That would move in nature, and it didn't to make it, and can I set up the shin to one.
And so really, we're kind of looking at using one's wisdom in order to establish the actuality and thereby, acting according to that actuality. And this is that which then, is reducing both the instance of and possibilities of trouble arising for you. It just doesn't appear there anymore when everything is merely imputed.
What are the days that the Casa de Kaja comes some de la Sim Kaze Shava Suga, Uncle Nuachu the chin, and the condition now in there, because the condition now and now I thought you didn't do your mother something never let to a jungle. Never let to a jungle. What in Tilacom Guyo, Tilacom got what I didn't take some of the time, what I didn't take it there, you give Hunchilla, the combat you give Hunchilla, whom the Taka just Sanjay Goma Matoga Pato, then they get some look. 된데 가서 유대는 좀 두상 예바 두상 마주바 예바 디 아니 두 남양 아니 랑게 삼로네 마예바 전에배 세바 전에 프레션 네트워크 산제 고마 마도보다 네네 아니 공배도 저 누가 켜봤지 중소 된데 공부하셔 좋아.
And so this mere negation of the objects of negation, to be bringing that to mind is something profoundly important, and that when we are constantly understanding that phenomena cannot exist in the way that they appear, namely to be objectively existent, that this is something that is simply an impossibility. And that the more we gain conviction in that, is the more we're able to apply it. And this is what the syllable home symbolizes for us, that until enlightenment may, we never become distracted from this reality, from being able to apply it. May we have the capacity to be able to keep that in mind 24/7 at all times, implying it to all phenomena.
아니 여봤자마자 왜 이렇게 프레션 네트워크 와든지 공부하시 안데 공부도 줘 되겠지. 와다 아니 된데가 이게 홍대 아니 도지 가보 쟁아바질 주소 삼사자. 안 도지 가보 쟁아바달라 이게 홍차 되겠지. 홍천 되겠지.
And this syllable hong is marked by a white five-pronged vajra, which is standing upright.
그래서 도지에서 근데 주어매봐 때문에 되게 just 고구여래.
That dorje is this vajra. Dorje is something which is symbolic of the indestructible, immovable, is consistent.
어디를 공부하셔? 아니 어디를 아니 랑게 되나 세대에 라마 투베 온거 뒤에 투갈래 다와 도지 생각봐 주요 가지고 공부하셔.
And similarly, that the Guru Munindra figure that we are visualizing in the space in front at the heart center is also got a white moon disc mandala, and on top of which is standing this home and the five-pronged vajra.
아니 랑게 타고도 막에 심지 탐제 어디내지 삼로 단제네. 아니 대다가 투갈래야 아니 장주가 샘콘에 다외 진거지 쭉 대다가 투갈래야 아니 가서래 대다 탐제자 또니가 삼로 단에 아니 가서래 이게 홍 뒤용서 존에 도지 가고 쟁아봐 지를 주소서 대다가 투갈래 되네 시요 삼서 공부자.
And that all the kind mother sentient beings all around us similarly, at their heart center is the white moon disc mandala, symbolic of the mind of enlightenment, and the home, symbolic of the wisdom of emptiness, and the five-pronged white vajra upright on that.
아니 뒤 타고도 뜸배 생아 따야다 오무니무니 마무니가 소요 삼사체.
And all around that configuration now is the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, Tayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha.
다 뜸바고 뜸바디야 유대는마다 동배 팔다 잠을 삼사카. 아니 뜸배 투가라 오다 다와 도지 다 어느 뜸배 생아되게 유대는마 동배 팔다 랑을 타고도 심지 탐제가 어디네 시제 유대는마 동배 팔다 라니야 동배 팔다자 유대는마 주버려서 나라라 심해봐 된대지 공부하시잖아요. 아니 뜸배 생아 뜸발라 믹잖아. 장주가 샘다 돈이 또 배셔라게 지심배도는 공부자 또 배청가 창고지 사슈와.
And so, and in focusing on the figure of the Buddha, with that configuration at the heart center, we remind ourselves that none of this has any objective existence, is merely imputed, that all the sentient beings all around us, marked in the similar way, are also lacking any objective existence and are merely imputed, not to forget ourselves at our heart center, marked in this way, merely imputed and have no objective existence whatsoever. And so with this in mind, we're focusing on the symbolism of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom of emptiness. We start the recitation of the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha.
Domba Chonde de Java Jomba Yang, the was of Sanja Riguada, Shazon, the Wat, the Washava Chiten, Jawaki would do a Kalo Jua Lada Minaja Domba Sanja Chonde, Pejawa Shaja Tovala Chazalo Chudo Chazo Tayata, Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa, Tayata, Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa, and Tayata, Muni Muni Ma Muni Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa and Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa and Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa and Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa and Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yaswa Dayata Om what are the Gombekal, Simja Tamja Chiang, Sosa, Hakova Digger, Penasosa Pama, Pinya, Trobo Tomo, that the Hakova Digger, sometimes, Time Magus, and Tarani wall leader, Pena put in down, and it that the Digger Ganga, I mean, Ari leader, that somebody leader Ganga, Digger didn't tango you some such. Then Kamiga Shijing Beta, Kanga did the tango you some such. What Digger, so Rangi Q, me or the Kong. And the Ganyamdo, till the Tangi or some such a compassion. And Lado Tata, the Casole, Miguel Tata de Casa, Tata the Russia, Ukraine March, and Tamim shoot on running jet. Tiganga, Tagani, Tiga Casa de COVID color, Mimum shoot on Takaja, so him by the Nan Nazaport, Kanji, never mango you get a Takaja. So him by the you surround me go like dramatic and tie your market subject. Joe, some time to not. Oh, some time.
And so that, if we can supplement visualization as much as we possibly can to include, all the sentient beings that are existing in here while we are doing our recitation, including world leaders such as Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and the President of the United States, or and include, of course, all those participating in and victims of the war in Ukraine, and all those who have suffering from the COVID pandemic, and indeed any illness as well, to kind of try to have this sense of all of these sentient beings all around and partaking here and being benefited.
What is that? Dayata Moni Moni Ma Muni and Dayata Moni Muni Ma Muni Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni and Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni and Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni and Dayata Muni Muni Ma Muni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Muni Swaha Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Muni Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Muni Swaha Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Muni Swaha. Ani Gomba Dele Sheda. Tumbe Tukane Yube Dawa Dojeda Ani Tumbe Sanga Tigele Kasada Wese Pado Meba Treni Tumbe Sanga Pado Meba Treni Dawa Doje Pado Meba Randa Rang Tako Simja Tamjege Tukale Dawa Dojeda Ani Tagani Shenge Tumbe Sanga Tela Teams Samsa Pado Meba Kasa multiply Sigre Treni Any Teams Samsa what is what Ranjuge Janjuga Sem Majeva Keva Tony Tobe Shera Majeva Keva Kwana Kondo Pesu Samsa what in the commercial.
And that as we continue to visualize also how the countless light rays emanate from the heart center of the Guru Buddha in the space in front, with the countless vajras, countless of the hung syllables, and the actual name mantra itself are emanating and dissolving into the crowns of ourselves and all the sentient beings all around us, such that all of the kind of the levels of the mind of enlightenment that we have not yet generated or realized are increased, and we can do so. And indeed, our understanding of the wisdom of emptiness is something which is deepened as well as a result of this.
Omani Bema Oma sorry, Daya Tao Muni Muni Swa, Daya Tao Muni 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 Swa, Daya Tao Muni 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 Daya Tao Muni 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 Swa, Daya Tao Muni 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 Daya Tao Muni Muni Daya Tao Muni 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 Daya Tao Muni Muni Daya Tao Muni Muni Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Muni So Daya Dao Muni Muni Ma Daya Dao Muni Daya Dao Muni Muni Daya Dao Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Jawadi Nuda Toba Tuba Ombotu the Joachi Jama Lubati Sala Gobara Show. What that didn't comes on Dory to cover Kevadane Kasura Tungele Matevare, San Qualing Yavacho and Junje Compashet. And the day in Yebe, Lotte, Rangi Chivola, and you give Pamchilla Josu Serta. The Pam the Yonso Jovale and the Casora, Davikin when Yakawaji Josu, so what the Kumasha.
And so, yes, and then we reflect on the suffering of all of the 6 realms of existence, all the sentient beings within there, all the various and sufferings that they have to undergo, and understanding how cyclic existence is in the nature of that suffering, and how it's so important that we gain a sense of definite emergence from cyclic existence. And this renunciation thought is symbolized by the lotus mandala seat that is formed on our crown.
And then subject to the Sanjay Kumanyuam, what the top what that Chinaga Cho, you can teach you then to what you say your master again Chipare, Takaja subject to Sanjay Kumar to go and got the cover session, Manivaka same shop. The day what the day that you then to what do some do so that the thing here combator shit and the thing and never lot and you make you when Yakawach in the Taveta and there's some such and the subject time to the Sanjay Kumar, Tomato, Tobachi, some such and what the dig because of the dig to Bate and the Taveti when Yakawach Juso, something what in the chap.
So, reflecting on all the inner and outer phenomena and the sense of this such I that we have mentioned, of really searching to find this inherently existent self, and the merely not finding of it, and being able to place one's attention just on that momentarily, that mere negation of the object of negation brings forth this sun disk mandala seat on our crown, and how, as a result of there being proven to be any being no objective existence or independent existence, allows for everything to arise independence, meaning that we can actually attain the state of enlightenment, and how it's necessary for us to attain that state of enlightenment in order to be truly beneficial to all sentient beings. And of course, essential to that is the generation of the mind of enlightenment, which can now be attained because we can establish all the causes to do so. And that is symbolized by the moon mandala seat on our crown.
Other anything that Tombala Michel, and Pandisera, Lama Rimboche, Tagi, open the condition of Kusu Jingle so that Chena, so that in Basum Tabicas of Pet, Nivacos of Show, Sumaka Tedushan, Sanjay Kumamato, with the Chazo Soso, Samsa Kumacha.
Then we utter the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure starts to journey from the space in front. At the end of the second, the Buddha has arrived at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have this certainty and joy that the Buddha will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment.
Then Chazawa, Church was Jesuit, to the Gawachusa Dagacha, Tamja Dagacha, Sashi, Puchi, Chunjumata, reality, Suggestion of the Togan, Namdashala, Idam Guru, Renamandala, Niantaya, Miss Takaja, Yalato, Mamete, the Chapa, the Pua, to be Tugula, Dewato, they were Tomba, Tomba, Teton, she just wanted a Kumacha.
And then through our acknowledging this and making offerings of the 7 limbs of practice, as well as the mandala offering, and then we can recognize how this is pleasing to the Buddha, how the Buddha experiences bliss which combines with voidness and is able to abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
Taganisha, Tagain, Taginese, Yanjok Bashe, and comes on to our to Kawakiwa in a Takaja, Yana Tunga, Yana, Yana, Chaba to Jeto, Chaba to Jega Tunga, Mana, Sukamindo, Chaba to Jet, Tunga, Jawaja Matuana, and Jue Tungeta, Tunga, you take it to that, and then you buy it up. Then you buy that, take water at Toneta, calling Yabachu, Yanjok Bashe. Yanjok Bashe to it, and then Nyanjong Yebe Lotte, and the Caso de Rangi, Ning de Takacha, Pamatabjela Joso, Samsacha, and Chinaga chocolate when you tend to what do some of those Kota Chowa Compassion. And the Dengue, Kajakazam, the Yebe Lotte, Rota, Kotacho, the Yebe Lotte, and it's making when Yaka was Joso, Samsacha. That when you tend to do some never is a time you done the tender drop to Tosam, the tender drop is order. Sanjay Kumasi with a tender to you on Saturday, Casako tender to my use, you get sauce or you want to go that Google, did you want to get Google the Linga Maria? That level was a new one to do a jiggy in some subject time to Sanjay Kuman, you want to matter top of the top of jiggy in some compassion. Then they gave a lot and they let to Bati, directing one young and you made them, you make go to the next or some such.
And then we again begin the process of establishing the suitable seat at our heart center by again contemplating on the reality of cyclic existence and how wherever we are born in any of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, we are subject to 3 different categories of suffering: the suffering of change, the suffering of suffering, and particularly the pervasive suffering, and how we must get beyond and separate ourselves from that 3rd category, pervasive suffering, because it in turn induces the other 2. And so we must gain liberation from cyclic existence in order to do that, and that means a generation of this renunciation, which is symbolized by the moon mandala seat, the lotus mandala seat. And then contemplating again how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence and are merely imputed, how we get to that point of the mere negation of the object of negation again, symbolized by the sun mandala seat. And that then symbolizing that lack of any independent existence leads to the conclusion that as all phenomena arise in dependence. and that they are dependent arisings, and that opens the door to be able to establish the causes to attain enlightenment and the mind of enlightenment. And so we make a powerful determination to quickly attain that state of enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings. And that mind is symbolized by the moon mentality.
ane tume tsanga daya to muni ma rinpa sungu tena jizu jambaya so oma ara baza nade tena tende ka so oma yedwa ma shamala iso tena rinpa sungu kwa tena jikoma xe.
And so again, reciting the invocation verse, "O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart, and keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind." At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the crown down into the central channel. And then the Guru Buddha, at the end of the second recitation, arrives at our pre-prepared seat here at the heart. And at the end of the third recitation, again, we have that beautiful certainty that the Buddha will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. At this point, the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tips by a white five-pronged semivajra, and that then that package is surrounded by three mantras: the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent arising in a clockwise direction.
ane rangi ningi yuso lama tuwe ngwa nebati kuzung tala wese paru bemba chona ane wese de rangi chibo ne kandi ka pala ane wese ki chabne ane tila tene ane thoma mewa sabi tikba kante sayu na taka ja so chiba ma chiba misa tsuyon chamba tsuzung ka ja nasa nuse lodar saba taka ja chebe khana wada rangshin khana matawa tse di tse ngama di ngama di ngama thoma mewa tikba tika ma jangso sabsa che taka nishingi soso tabi domba da kawa jangso sabi lawa da kawa 상가에 단체다 개발을 해서 딱까지 돈바 켈레니야 돈바 야고 마서 네바 체대 생가마 띵가 통해서 디바드 근데 다소서 아니 루게 나자 생그 동네 중식 코인 많이 와 자롱 딜레 견다자 마상시 다네 안디가 가야 가서 나지 돈바 개발이 개라 아니 튼제 갈고 디가 두두에게 아니 가서 딱까지 저 데야 튼제 디가 창소 상사시.
And then the countless rays of light begin to emanate from the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha within, and they're permeating through every cell of our body, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, and affecting a very powerful purification of all the negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated in general since beginning this time, and including the negativities of the 10 non-virtues, those physical, of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of the verbals, of lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, and of the mental negativities of covetousness, malicious intent, and wrong view. And that all of these negativities have been purified. All the naturally occurring negativities and actions proscribed by the Buddha himself, that they have been purified. All the negativities that we have engaged in this life, and the one previous to this, the one previous to that, going back to beginningless time. Similarly, all downfalls and infractions of our vows, the Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva, the Tantric vows, that we have engaged in this life, and the one previous to this, and going back again to beginningless time, and all the negativities that have been accumulated through our body and our mind, leading to that which impedes our spiritual practice now, ailments and sicknesses of the body and mind, and that they are all purified. Likewise, the imbalances in the four elements and the channels, winds and drops are rectified and rebalanced in our bodies as well, and that so rendering us have the increased potential to attain realization.
타가자 타도도 뉴도 산제 고마토와라 아니 교회 지슈데 타메가 나신 바 안 타메가 나신 교회 단제 단 간나타자 답바람서 바지 차도와 양로 총수 성사 어디를 공부하셔 근데 이번 어디를 공부하셔 아니 랑게 신도 저 롱데 녀랭자 라마샤자서 꾸들 해지 지금 전 소주들 라마샤자서 꾸를 주수 성사 신도 저 섬데 녀랭 라마샤자서 투들 해지 지금 소수 섬데 라마샤자서 투를 주수 랑게 룽아 유자 라마샤자서 구소도 뭐 예매 주수 디 동바 디 대와테 대외 동바테 대돈뉴스모 이시 계속 랑기 내사게 내디야 여기 견탄제 장네 라마샤자스가 답에서도 주소 다라 라마샤자스가 구소도 뭐 예매 주와다 나라라시메 봐 공부하셔 대 도가 라마샤자스가 빠도 배버터는 아니 섬제 탐제라 라마샤게 생게 차상와르데 아니 팀발라 때네 아니 대다 단제야 라마샤자스 구소도 뭐 예매 주소서 대다가 내사가 내다 지금 나와다 이다라 두들라 다가제 내 근데지 도와주고 내 근데지 대다 단제 내가 교원 단제 다네 아니 라마샤자스가 답에서도 주소서 어디는 공부차.
And so, more importantly, that which acts as the greatest impediment to our being able to quickly attain the state of enlightenment, namely ordinary perception, is transformed into pure perception. And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own most subtle mind or consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body or my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And so I see now my body, speech, and mind as being inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. I rejoice in this fact. It produces a sense of bliss which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss in voidness. Similarly, the place that I am in now is purified of all fault and degeneration and becomes the palatial abode of an enlightened being. And then, seeing myself as a fully enlightened being and lacking any inherent existence of not appearing in the way, not existing in the way that I appear, I send out countless rays of light to all 6 realms of existence. And upon dissolving into the crowns of all sentient beings, they spontaneously arise as fully enlightened Buddhas. Similarly, that their place is completely transformed of all the fault and degeneration and is transformed into the enlightened abode of an enlightened being.
아니 유대는 좀 두상 영원의 선 고바시 코다 주고 고바시 근데 다 마주바티 아니 동바디 아니 동바디 녀바디 아니 대와티 아니 동바녀 대돈이스마 이시켜서 고바자.
And so this is so wonderful. Today is the day that I've been able to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. That is fantastic. Of course, I realize that this leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, and myself as the agent of that virtue, all lack any objective existence and are merely imputed by thought. And from that contemplation of the mere negation of the object mere negation of the object of negation, this sense of emptiness, voidness arises, which combines with bliss, which induces again this voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And so also then thinking, of course, that this is happening as a result of my own imagination and an aspiration merely. It certainly can't come about just so easily. and yet I make a powerful dedication that I will do my best for it to quickly become a reality.
다 간제 간제 지구에서는 다 간제 소소 근데 영화라 소소 산제 공화 뭐도 타면다 산제 공화 타와테 영화 쇼서 몰란 자는 핑보다 다들 자주서 돈이 또 베시라 냠내 지구다 다 돈이 또 베시라 냠내 지구다 대 냠내 대 간제 지구도스나 어레 랑게 사나 돈나 대나 다 간제 지 기부주나 두부주나 아니 나와이나 타마 시바이나 되게 그가 자주 그서다 돈이 또 베시라게 튕게도 저도바 제도나 아니 링불 메도바 자주 그 셈게도 링불 모도가 돈이 또 베시라게도 아니 딜라데네 산제 고만 유도 터도야지 용사와 아니 근데 지금 제 수수 담자 아니 제도바 제대 다까지 배주 제대래
And so it's kind of like, we know that we have to attain the state of enlightenment to benefit sentient beings, but that doesn't simply come about by just wanting it and asking for it. We have to practice what is necessary to attain that state. And that requires us to really attain the realization of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And so we have to make that part and parcel of everything that we are doing in our lives. Whether eating or drinking or walking or going back and forth, whether we are happy or unhappy, whether we are sick or even at the point of death, we have to train ourselves to be able to include those twin motivations as part of everything that we do so that we can gradually attain the realization of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And we make a vow to be able to do that, to do our very best to integrate this kind of thinking into everything that we do. And so this is what makes a life meaningful. Of course, there are many different layers or levels of what is meaningful. But if we can really integrate those thoughts in our motivation, in our actions at all times, then this is the very peak, the very epicenter, the very top of what is meaningful. You are Avalokitesvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet, I make request.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you again.